What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin Cash. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more. This is not a man bun, it is a Christmas wreath. Somebody said man bun or not, something after that. I think it was a nice comment, I forget. But it's not, I have had a man bun back in the day. I did, but not once since I've started this channel. But man, you guys, my hair was glorious back in the day. Here, you know what? We're going to go on a detour. I've done this before, but we're going to go on a little detour. This is a little taste. It's blown away with the laser eyes, right? But I used to, it was glorious. This doesn't even do it half its justice, man. It went down past the nips. We'll just leave it at that. I met my wife when I had long hair, man, so you know that she loves me for me. Anyways, guys, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content from me. Thank you for being here. Let's get started. We're sitting at $362 right now. I do believe that's the low, right? Yesterday I was calling for this move down to about 350, 355, 350, maybe 345, somewhere in this area. We're holding it as a higher low as of now. Hopefully it continues to hold. Hopefully we get some separation through. I wouldn't mind seeing the day close a little bit lower so this RSI interacts more with the oversold zone. Bouncing off the oversold zone is a really strong signal, in my opinion, as is rejecting the overbought area. But bouncing, you could bounce here, whatever. You found support literally in this area time and time again throughout this cycle. So it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be, it can be exactly what it is now. But closing below this low here, on a closing basis, not the low in price, but the closing low, closing below that would give us a hint of bullish divergence, which is also a nice thing to bottom out of. I do expect that maybe not expect, I suspect that perhaps we are in some kind of ascending triangle, right? Some kind of something like this. We could interact with this area at about $400, $390, somewhere in there, and reject it one more time, finding another higher low, and then later bouncing up, right? Maybe in the middle of this month, if not sometime next week, we could see this move that takes us out of the $400, or I should say $350 to $400 area, and back up to that $450 to $530 area, I think. Is that right? Yes, 530, yeah, $450 to $530. Really, I think it'd be $460 to $530. $450 to $530. We'll just keep it at that, more broad of a range. And I do think that's going to happen. It's just when is the question, right? And at this point in time, I don't really know. I don't care about when. The sooner the better, I suppose. But whether it's next week or 2 or 3 weeks from now, like it's going to happen sometime this month, I believe, where we break out of this bottom phase of consolidation. And this is just the first step of a higher low and many higher lows that we're going to have throughout the rest of the cycle. I don't mind the daily RSI at all. If we look at the BCH BTC chart here. Come on now, on Coinbase. You can see where I'm going with it, right? So that says it all. There we go. No, the daily RSI, you guys. I want to point this out. Looking at the 50, we don't even need to look at the price, right? We can look at the indicator, and we'll look at the price in a second. This is the price versus Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash compared to Bitcoin. Okay, so it's not in U.S. dollars. When we've interacted with the 50 area, down, short-lived, and then down, short-lived, and then down. This time it was also short-lived, but not down, no. And really, we've been in this area for a longer amount of time than we have any of these previous times, right? Like if I drew a little bubble around each time, there's your bubble to encompass everything, right? That one was the biggest one so far, that one, but this is way bigger, right? And I knew I drew that little extra there, but I tried to, maybe I could do it like this. It's still bigger than that one is, right? Than any of these. So we're lingering around this 50 instead of rejecting off it, which I think different behavior could beget different reactions, right? That's my kind of hope here. Bouncing off this 40 area twice is also a nice look, right? Where we didn't really hold it as support at all. Here, I guess a little bit, but then inevitably went down. Where here we've held it twice. If this is what it looks to be, I think we could be getting set up to move out to the overbought zone, and that could set us up, from here, solidifying that this is our low, this little double bottom here, and that we're moving up out of this zone, potentially moving upwards and onwards to these resistance points up here that we've previously interacted with, and breaking through it, establishing Bitcoin Cash's first established, maintained uptrend versus Bitcoin, where we have higher lows and higher highs in congruence together. So this is big stuff, and it all starts here, man. This could be literally the low. What happened last week could have been the low of this whole range. 1 second. I'll be right back. Sorry about that delay, you guys. Oh, man. I went on a 6-hour hike yesterday with a 50-pound back, no joke, a 50-pound backpack on, and I'm really sore. So if you see me getting in and out of my seat like all hunched over, it's because I can't sit down like a normal person, man. My legs are shot. But anyways, had to check on my daughter. She woke up. She's 2 years old. Had to make sure that she was okay. She is. Just had to put her back to sleep. Anyways, back to the task at hand. Okay. The weekly RSI. I am assuming that we found our low, right? We're moving up, hopefully. Okay. The weekly RSI also looks good in comparison to the daily RSI. If we look at our low point here to where we are here, we have a kind of nice straight line going up. And also, not only that, but we're also bouncing off of this 40 area on the weekly. So closing this week green would be nice to see as well. And if we close it red, that's okay. Let's just not get below the 40. Solidify this as a low, and that would be more solidified, in my opinion, if we got this week to close green as well. So 3 days, 19 hours left. We're down less than 2% versus Bitcoin as of now. So that's a very easy ask, a very doable thing for Bitcoin Cash. Let's just see if that happens. But what's really cool about this right now, you guys, is if this is what it looks to be, this is like an upward trend on the lows here. From this low all the way up to the overbought zone. From this low, not as far into the overbought zone, but into the overbought zone nonetheless. From this low, where would we go? I would assume into the overbought zone. Hopefully more than last time, maybe just as much as that time, or even beyond, who knows. But if we were to move into the overbought zone on the weekly Bitcoin Cash RSI versus Bitcoin, I would assume that we don't stop here and we do see new highs. Again, going back to that idea of having higher highs and higher lows, the first established uptrend versus Bitcoin that Bitcoin Cash has seen in its entire existence, right? Like here, right? We had the higher highs, but we did not have the higher lows, right? I suppose that is a higher low, higher high scenario there. That doesn't count. Come on, man. That one doesn't count. This is still a lower high versus all this. This, relative to this low here, right? This was your high from here to there, and then you went down. right? I don't know if I would count that personally, but other than that, that might be your only arguable cause. There really hasn't been, and this would be a much larger move nonetheless, but this would be the only like real sustained uptrend that we've ever had with Bitcoin Cash. And at any rate, this one had 2 points where you had a higher high, higher low. I suppose it had that look right there, but really again, just throughout like this whole thing, I think it's very obvious that that was a lower high, right? This high would not be the high of this overall range. This was the high of the overall range, right? We're like, here, that's definitely a high. Here, that's definitely a high. It was a double top. There's no question about that. We break this. This will be undeniably the first time we've had 3 higher lows, multiple higher highs, the first real established uptrend versus Bitcoin in one of the more bearish charts that you can see in crypto. But changing your trajectory versus Bitcoin is no small ask for any crypto, you guys. And this is a really big deal, okay? A really big deal, because what this would mean if we are turning around here is that we're looking at a general, like a macroscopic look from an all-time high to an all-time low retracement, okay? 236 to 069, we're showing significance on this. This would mean that potentially by the end of this cycle, the minimum targets that we could achieve are anywhere between 1.6% to 5.4% of a Bitcoin by the end of the cycle, somewhere in this zone, okay? Potentially higher, yes, potentially higher, but these are the areas that I would expect. And genuinely, I would actually expect something around probably at least 2%, if not like at the most 5.4%. Sounds about right, man. From the low points here to the high points here, somewhere in this range, that's kind of what I would be expecting. But again, this could all start with what we're seeing right now on the weekly RSI, on the weekly price action versus Bitcoin, having a higher low interacting with this trend line in the RSI going up to the overbought zone where we show the most strength, potentially seeing a very strong move that could take us up a lot higher. And what that would mean for Bitcoin Cash itself would be pretty crazy. Let's actually see what that would mean for Bitcoin Cash. So if we were at, let's say, this next move up, okay, so this if we look at this for what it is, okay, BCH versus BTC, and let's compare it to BCH versus USD, okay, BCH USD, same or new price. Nope, I messed up. I don't want it to be same percentage scale. I want it to be new price, okay. So you can see here, and it makes sense, but just for to help draw the dots, or connect the dots, I should say. You can see that on this phase where Bitcoin Cash versus BTC was moving up, as was Bitcoin Cash versus the US dollar. Bitcoin Cash versus BTC moving up, Bitcoin Cash versus US dollar moving up, okay? So generally speaking, the chart on BCH versus BTC being bullish, that does mean that we're expecting upside. Of course, Bitcoin Cash could gain value versus Bitcoin, and they could both be moving down. That would just mean that Bitcoin Cash is moving down less. But generally speaking, when this chart's bullish, you see it. You see the US dollar pair being bullish. But that's not what I want to address. What I want to address is the fact that if we're going to move up versus this chart, if we are going to see our next high, and that high, in my opinion, this next high, literally, man, could be, oh, come on now. I didn't know it took it out of log. Let's see. This next high, let me go on the monthly. Messing with the flow of things. High to low. Okay, I know there's a lot going on, just bear with me. Okay, the 382 is this yellow line. Okay, that's the 382 right there. That is where I would think this next high would take us, okay, versus BTC. Okay, that area, it doesn't have to be exactly there, but essentially around the area of about 1.6% of a Bitcoin. 1.6% could be where we're next moving to. This is our high, this is our move up, okay? This is our next move up. Our next move, I'm expecting to take us to the 382. If it doesn't take us to the 382, perhaps what we do is some kind of move just above it. We pull back to find support at previous areas of resistance, and then we continue on, whatever. But all in all, that's like the stopping point before we see more consolidation, okay, for a little bit of time. 1.6% essentially versus of a Bitcoin. Okay, Bitcoin right now, BTC is worth $60,000. 1.6% of $60,000 would be, what is that, like, is that about 1,000? Is that about 1,000? It might be. Let's see. It might be just over or just under. Right, we're doing 1.6, let's just say 1.6%. No, so it would be 0.01, because that's 1%. That's 1.6% times the current price of BTC, which would be 58,800. Okay, let's 58,800. Let's just keep it at that, because that's the current price. 58,800. Yeah, would equal 940. If it was 60,000, it would probably be closer to $1,000, but $940. So that is the target that we get, not off of the BCH USD chart, but off of the BCH BTC chart potentially, if what I'm saying comes to fruition, if our next target is up there. So if this next move up for Bitcoin Cash versus Bitcoin is going to take us up there, by doing the math, this is what we get in a US dollar perspective. Let's check the US dollar chart and see if that checks out, if that makes sense. We want congruence with what we're seeing, right, with the math that we're doing. If we take this high and we assume that we have found our low, that's the low, and I do assume that's the low, well, our target area is anywhere from $879 to $1,135. This is basically right in the middle of that, okay? And this is at the current price of $58,000. If Bitcoin Cash is moving up, I would assume Bitcoin moves up too, right? So I just wonder, at 1,135, how would you do that? Would you divide it? 1,135 divided by 0.016. Is that right? That would be the price of Bitcoin. Okay, so maybe by the time Bitcoin reaches 70K, $71,000, that's when we see Bitcoin Cash reaching $1,000, something like that, right? Like literally. So I don't know. That to me seems a bit pessimistic, I'm not going to lie, because I think Bitcoin's going to move up higher than 70K on this next run up too. It could take, more than a month or so. I'm spitballing ideas here, guys. I know it's a little bit all over the place, but maybe, because if that were true, if Bitcoin were, I really think that Bitcoin's going to go up to 80K. Okay, here, I'll pull it up on this chart real quick. Not right now. I mean, yes, right now, but not right now. Right? I think it's found its low. I think this was the low of the range. Double bottom look. I just made a video saying that. But the next area, we take the high to the low of this range. The next minimum target that we would achieve would be 79 to 87K. Most of the targets, most of the area is in that 80K area. So, and potentially even up to 100K. So with that in mind, to me, these numbers don't make as much sense. So perhaps BCH BTC, perhaps we are going to do the thing where we break out above it, check back, and then go lower, right? What would be something like just above it here if we were to get a fib extension? High to low. Nothing really lining up. The 1618 is a little bit above that. That's nice to see. 1.35% of a Bitcoin. Maybe high to low here. Come on. 1414 lines up with that as well. So 1.3, let's say 1.35. 1.35. 1,335 divided by 1.35, right? That'd be 84,000. Okay, that makes more sense. That makes more sense. So yeah, maybe Bitcoin Cash versus BTC. I know there's a lot going on, guys, but maybe what we see instead is something like this, where we break out of the range, we do get our higher high, but then we pull back to find support, and then we continue to move up. Maybe something like that would make sense. All that's saying essentially, and this is, I'm just spitballing here, right? But it makes sense coinciding with what I'm expecting to see versus Bitcoin itself over the coming weeks and months, that Bitcoin Cash, by the time it's up in this area over the weeks and months to come, which is what I'm expecting, that it's not quite at that 1.6 area, but more probably closer to that 1.35 area, which would imply that we haven't hit the 382, which would imply that instead of a major breakout that I'm expecting all the way up to the 382, that perhaps it's a two-step process instead of just a one shot all the way up there. But hey, if I'm wrong and we actually do just move straight up to the 382, well, then that just begets bigger prices. So I hope that all makes sense. I hope that last part, I feel like that might have been a little bit confusing, especially with the pause in between going to take care of my daughter there. Maybe I'm being too conservative, man. Maybe like, actually, I keep jumping between these charts too, man. Oh my goodness, I really do. But maybe this look of turning the tides versus Bitcoin is more bullish than I'm giving it credit for, and it's actually completely feasible, maybe even logical, that we're well above $1,000 by the end of this next move up, right? By the end of this next move up versus BTC, by the end of this next move up versus the US dollar, maybe the 1618 to 1272 isn't the area that we stop at. Maybe it's deeper. Maybe it's the deeper extensions. Maybe it's the 2618. Those numbers are there for a reason. They are places that we interact with. If we look at this relative high to the relative low, I don't think we hit the deep extensions, did we? Yeah, this time we only hit the 1618, so that's the expected zone, which leads me to believe that we probably would see the expected zone, but time will tell. So I don't know, that's months away, probably over a month, if not even like up to 2 months away or more, before we actually find our next high. But right now, I do expect this is the low. I think we found a higher low. Closing above $350 is the goal. If we close here or lower, that's okay. Another goal I want to throw out there is closing this week green. I would like to close this week green, not just versus USD, but versus BTC specifically, actually more so specifically versus Bitcoin. So if we don't close the week green, hopefully we just do better than Bitcoin this week. That's the goal. So close this week green versus Bitcoin. Really, that's a nice goal to have. And then BCH USD, don't close any day below 350 and start moving up. Get away from the zone. We want to start moving up. Get above $400. We get above $400, then it's on to 455, 430, or 530 beyond that, stuff like that. So I hope that all makes sense. If you guys like the video, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more. I will see you on the next one. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.